Hello. Hey guys. Um Hello. um Darren here. Um Gonna be sharing a bit today about updates on Tome.gg. My past experience speaking at Microsoft Philippines, sharing about my perspectives on mentorship and apprenticeships, and just highlighting some really friendly people that I've met recently, possible, partners, collaborators in Tome.gg. And we'll probably just last kind of pass through the white paper that I'm writing and just generally talk about tech education and gaming and how I think those things are actually all tied very closely together in what I think is going to be like the next really incredible things that's going to happen in how education is going to evolve in the future, and how that evolution will also prompt us to have our own kind of our own kind of change as learners, students. Yeah. So if you guys haven't joined my Discord server yet, that would be pretty cool if you're interested. I'm trying to build up this community of people who are interested in tech education and gaming, and people interested to actually take on coaching and apprenticeship or mentorship sessions with me and my community. So yeah, that link to Discord is available on the website tome.gg. You can just scroll down to the bottom, then you'll find it there. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Probably I click this button, right? Yeah. All right. Awesome. So these are the things I would probably want to like cover. But again, if you haven't joined the Discord channel, please do. You can scroll down to the very bottom of tome.gg and you'll find a button for the Discord community. And when you go there, I am actually going to be right here, open to actually hearing questions and stuff. So you can just drop in and say hello, actually. So yeah, okay. So I'm gonna try out this thing which Discord calls a stage. Haven't actually used it before, but hey, let's try it out. So this is what the gaming classroom looks like. Yeah, it's basically just a Discord channel where I share my updates about Tome, talk a little bit about learning and education in the tech space, share games and memes and stuff, and just mingle with people who just want to share what they've learned. Yeah. But for some reason, I think my Facebook's getting disconnected. So let me just check that out first. Okay. For some reason, I got disconnected on Facebook. I'm not entirely sure why. Well, let's just see restream for a bit, see what's going on. It says unable to connect, so I'm not entirely sure what the problem might be. But what it says so far is that we are live, and it looks fine, I guess. I think we're fine. Let me just double check on Facebook before we start all of this stuff. Actually take on coaching and apprenticeship. Oh. Okay. Okay. Anyway, that's unfortunate. We're gonna have to probably shift the music, maybe? I'm not sure. Let's change the BGM and then try to reconnect. Yeah. Okay. Let's stop streaming. There we go. Okay, I think we are good this time. But yeah, I think Facebook basically cut us off because of some concerns. But anyway, moving on. Let's get to it. Desktop number 1. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit on where Tome is currently, the experience on Microsoft, and the different people that I've met that I'm quite interested to actually work with. And yeah, if you haven't joined the Discord community, you can just go to tome.gg and just click Discord community, and it should show up here. And you can basically join this current stage that I'm in. It's called TGC Clubhouse, Gaming Classroom Clubhouse. And yeah, basically I think I have the ability to like put people on stage, have them ask stuff. So yeah. All right, let's get to it. Talk a little bit first about updates on where Tome is. So yeah, it's been a couple of months since I streamed content. Back in October and November, I was basically making quite a few digital content on my TikTok and YouTube channels, just getting a feel of the motions of actually creating content first. But like as like March and April came, I was like kind of solidifying first the fundamentals of what value I'm actually delivering for my audiences, which are basically mid to senior level software engineers. So we'll go through these topics and then we'll go over the white paper and review it, right? So yeah, recent updates from like last month was basically I finalized, well, not really finalized, but like I kind of settled into some final terms on my pricing. It's there on the website now that you guys can check out. And you can basically go through the whole onboarding experience by going to Find a Mentor and being informed about the process and expectations that you'll encounter when you work with Tome.gg. So yeah, you guys can pass through it, and I would definitely love to hear feedback. So if you are a software engineer, you know, in your junior stage or mid to senior level stage, and you actually want to improve, or you find yourself that, you know, you are at the senior level stage but you feel like your growth has been stagnating, then Tome.gg might be suitable for you. So just go to Tome.gg, click Find a Mentor, and this whole onboarding process of what Tome.gg can offer for you and what things you can expect from the platform is just right here. You can just understand, you know, what's expected of you as an apprentice, and basically go straight into booking a mentorship session. So yeah, I guess other things that I wanted to highlight was that the slots for the alpha testers, which are basically free coaching sessions in exchange for feedback, are slowly running out. So if those are things that you are interested in, go ahead and join the Discord channel, reach out to us. Yeah, just connect with us. Yeah, with the Microsoft experience, last, if I recall correctly, that was last Thursday, July 27. I was invited to speak in Microsoft to talk a little bit about mentorship best practices, right? And they had a lot of different questions. We had a fantastic set of panel. Let's just pull that up quickly here. Let's go to Discord and let's go to announcements, and it's right here. So we had an excellent set of people to share about mentorship, and it was really nice bouncing ideas with these people and sharing our experiences. Yeah. I'm actually super duper grateful that Microsoft had this specific kind of event, because like mentorship and apprenticeships are like right up my alley, and I feel like mentorships and apprenticeships are the space really for really personalized experiences and learning. I personally did not just experience mentorship in software engineering, but I also experience it a lot when I play with a lot of my gaming friends. We call ourselves the Grove Street Boys, and we basically play Dota 2 in the wee hours of the morning, and really fantastic experience just working and playing with these guys. And when I say working, I mean like, you know, dominating in Dota 2 and beating up our enemies. All of these trash talk coming from random strangers from different nationalities, and just really being toxic in games. But it's a really fast-paced game, like in an hour you just have to be very strategic and just defeat the enemies. And I feel like the tech startup community is also kind of like that, like the market um, for competition and finding really great software engineering talent. Like there's a competition there, competing against another business that's in the same space as you, right? There's this competitive spirit that you would have with your company and with your team, trying to compete and beat and defeat that other company. So I feel like those kinds of um, enthusiasm for excellence and victory are things we naturally experience in games, whether that's basketball, sports, soccer, golf, um, comparing yourself to other people. That's something we naturally experience in games. And being able to frame your experience in your workplace from a gaming perspective also gives you clear um, ways of looking at failure. It's not just about um, failing and not meeting the expectations, but it's you pick yourself up, you go back to the next round, and you try again. You don't really sulk that hard when you're dying in Dota 2 multiple times. I mean, I guess if you've died like 8-12 times, right, it's a horrible game. There's really nothing you can do. You're dead 12 times, you're like level 5 at minute 15, right? You're just like a leveled up courier. Just walking around, just planting wards and then dying to some Nyx assassin that's just waiting for you to show up. It's not real experiences I'm sharing here, but the general idea is basically people have that competitive spirit in games, and we can actually apply that as well in professional settings. And those are kinds of ideas that I actually want to talk about. So yeah. Going back to the Microsoft experience, right? Mentorship, talking about it. Yeah. It was really pleasant. I think there were around 60 to 70 participants, I think. Or maybe there's around 40, I'm not sure. 40 to 70 maybe, I'm not entirely sure. But we filled up like 2 halls, right? In the conference room in Microsoft. And there's a variety of different people there. There were like professionals, there were students, and we explored topics of mentorship. So it's actually live streamed on the Microsoft page, but I think they had some sound problems when they were like hosting it. But yeah, so I think I'll try to highlight like what kinds of questions that I really enjoy from what they asked. So I think they asked, what is mentorship, right? And how do you help people when you yourself as a mentor is struggling, right? Which is a great question. Like if you're in a leadership position, whether at work or even at school, right? Like how do you help others when you yourself is actually struggling? It's a great question. There was also yeah, I think I'm gonna like share about the beach description here a little bit, which is basically the drowning versus bored, right? I'm gonna expound on that a little bit more, and finally, like I think other areas that I didn't really get to talk about in the session. I think mentors and their similarities with the apprentices. I think that's what I'll talk about. Okay, so they asked me basically like what is mentorship, and what I said was mentorship fundamentally is a relationship, and I think I frame it that way because at the end of the day, before any kind of communication actually works out, right? Whether it's instruction, I'm telling you what things are and how things work, even like from a teacher-student kind of perspective. At the core of it, there's a relationship there, right? You trust the university where you're paying money to actually listen to this professor. that they're going to teach you something. So there's an aspect of trust there, right? There's this aspect of respect that you're actually providing when you shut up and listen to the teacher when they're talking in front, right? But I highlighted that mentorship is a relationship because just like relationships also evolve over time, right? Maybe when you meet someone for the first time, you feel good vibes with them. They're still acquaintances. They're not people that you're going to like share your intimate life with, at least not yet, right? But as you continue to get to know the other person, you basically uh, start off being generous, right? So first you might ask someone, okay, hi, hello, I'm Darren. Why did you choose to be a software engineer, right? Like asking that kind of question is a kind of generosity, right? Because when you think about it, I'm not asking you to pay attention to me and what I want and what my intentions are. That's not how that works. What happens is you're like asking, what's what's the deal with you, right? Like, why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why did you choose software engineering? Did you come from like a gaming background? You wanted to build games? Um, so why do you want to take up software engineering? Some people might say, "Oh, I love playing games and I wanted to make games." And then they get into college and they get to experience, software engineering. Ah, there's so much math and logic. I did not expect this. Um, I've met people who went into software engineering um, because they found themselves automating so much of their work. So they don't really come from a software engineering background, but they find themselves picking up scripting and a little bit of programming online because they're like, I don't want to keep doing this copy paste on Excel, right? So people come to software engineering and programming and tech from different backgrounds, different stories, and that's an excellent place to start a conversation in, right? So why did you get into tech? And those are the kinds of questions that I'm generous with when I do my mentorship. It's really curiosity, and I think that curiosity is a skill that not everybody really practices. um yeah, I don't think a lot of people recognize that curiosity is a skill to be harnessed. I think the reason people don't share about or don't actively practice curiosity is because they feel like they're going to be wasting their time with listening to other people or things that they're not interested in. But I feel like that's more of a fear kind of response, in that I'm afraid of how to like exit the conversation when I'm no longer interested, or I'm afraid of um oh, it's BJ. Hi, BJ. Hello, hello. Yeah, I think that there are people that are afraid, like, how do I oh, it's recording. Okay. So like, yeah, I think people are like afraid of um navigating those kinds of social situations, right? How do I exit a conversation I'm not interested in? How do I direct a conversation? Like, this is the area that I want to talk about. How do I gently say, no, that's not what I'm talking about. This is what I want to talk about. Um, or people are just really busy, especially, software engineers. There's so much work that needs to be done. Workloads are crazy. Deadlines are, imminent all the time for each sprint. Um, but yeah, so going back to that mentorship relationship, um, I think that I've commonly experienced seeing people have challenging work environments. This might be some level of disconnect from your boss or your direct supervisor. So someone might be unable to tell truthfully that, I'm struggling, I need help, right? Because that kind of relationship wasn't really solidified or secured, right? Not to blame people, right? I mean, a relationship goes, hand in hand. Like, you help each other, try to maintain that. But then think about it, right? Um, there are terrifying kinds of situations where a mentor would be like a mentor or like a direct supervisor would basically just shove and say, um, you're doing it wrong. Why do I have to explain this again and again to you? And that frustration, it's just pushing around that kind of frustration onto other people. And then that kind of prevents younger people from asking for help. And that relationship is, um, it's not invested in. And it's challenging because when you're playing, for example, Dota 2, right? You're playing Dota 2, you're playing a competitive game, and you don't have a good relationship with the people that you're playing with. It's hard to coordinate. It's hard to ask for help. It's hard to also give help, right? If people are very proud and unable to, humble themselves. So yeah. Um, yeah. So how do I help people when I am struggling? I think let's move on to the next question. The way that I answered this in the session was that it goes way beyond or way back before I even begin struggling, right? The mental model that I normally bring up here is the airplane oxygen mask model, which is basically in the airplane when you're struggling, like the airplane's gonna go down or like there's some issue, right? The announcement is always saying, put on the mask on yourself first before you put it on a baby. It's a very visual mental model, which I like because that's also what I expect from myself and from other people. When other people are struggling, I don't expect them to be the one to help me. I think that's kind of fair. Kind of like settle your business first, deal with it first, and when you're done, if you have some space, please help me out. I think that's a fair and reasonable thing to expect from people. So in the same way, as a mentor, I would also I would also tell people my limits of what I can actually help in. So I would tell them, hey, I wouldn't always be as abundant. I wouldn't always have enough time or enough energy to be able to spend on my apprentices. But when I do, I offer it, right? I offer it with the boundaries that I set. But there are times when I wouldn't have that space. And the way that I kind of help, nonetheless, is basically I buffer that help beforehand. So I try to equip them, I try to teach them, I try to provide resource materials for them to read. I try to give them frameworks and kinds of instruction so that when I'm away, right, like for example, I'm sick, at least I have an idea of like how they're going to be like behaving. And they also have a better idea with the relationship that you establish from an apprenticeship and mentorship experience. I commonly hear from my apprentices, they say, what would Darren do at this point? What would Darren do? Right? And then, generally what Darren often does is like, if you don't understand something, you ask questions. If you're struggling, you ask for help, right? You don't understand what's going on. You can't completely comprehend the problem that you're trying to address. Write it down because it's likely multiple diverse problems. So you try to divide and conquer by actually writing things down first. So just by role modeling as a mentor, your apprentices get to see how you problem solve, how you think, how you navigate situations. And then when you're away, right, they're just going to think, what would Darren normally do here, right? Okay. So I hope that that's also something that I transmit actually when I go from the company to company and work with different teams. I hope that they get to also pick up that, the responsibility of taking care of the people that you're leading and, you're nurturing doesn't just fall solely on yourself, right? It's a shared responsibility between those individuals and not just you, but the other leaders in your space. Ultimately, like there's this theory that I'm writing about. It's called the theory of sustainable growth. And it's just the general ideas that I have about very common problems that people kind of flesh out. For example, it's basically the idea that for sustainability to happen in an organization that's trying to move forward, it's not going to work out if it's just one leader that's performing well. it's going to be sustainable when you have a formative experience in that organization, such that you're developing multiple leaders as you move forward. And that's challenging, right? And that's also why I'm actually pursuing Tome.gg as a mentorship and apprenticeship platform. Yeah. Mhm. So I'm just checking out if people are like saying hi and stuff. Okay. Let's just say hello here. There we go. And cool. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay. So I also met a lot of different people in the similar space that Tom is operating in. There's people that are also in the general life coaching and mentoring space that I got to meet. And personally, as a founder, I'm kind of new to like building these kinds of partnerships and relationships, but I'm approaching it from the same perspective of trust and respect, relationship building, and generosity that I do. I got to meet Christian from Web3PH, who's working on Volcanic Labs. I got to meet Grace from Education.ph just yesterday from Dream Bigger Summit, which was really it was really something. Dream Bigger Summit. Yeah. There were like multiple startups doing their pitches. It was really a great community of faith-driven entrepreneurs sharing in the different spaces that they're in: entrepreneurship, education, investing. And I was really pleased because I got to meet a lot of different people. I still have to actually send them emails and connect with them on LinkedIn and stuff, but I'll do that in a bit. But I'm really happy because it gives me hope. It gives me hope that there are a lot more people trying to address these kinds of problems that we're experiencing. Yeah. I also met Cha, who's also building her coaching, a coaching team for life coaching. And there are those interests between Tom and her business that align, in that sense that some of the things that we teach in Tom are related to soft skills and interpersonal growth. And yeah, I think that there are those kinds of skills that can be delegated to a third party. But the best case scenario is that we upskill mentors in the tech space to be able to handle the whole experience, right? That way, your apprentice basically just forms a relationship with one mentor at a time, and eventually continues to build that kind of mentor pool that's helping them grow. Yeah. So I think that generally covers the topics that I wanted to bring up. We can probably pass through a little bit of the white paper, and see the common changes, the recent changes that I had, and basically just run through the work in progress that I currently have. This is the ecosystem. I'm not looking for the ecosystem. I'm looking for the main white paper. Okay. So the white paper, by the way, is public. You guys can access it. It's on GitHub, Tome-GG white paper. You can't really have dots in a GitHub organization, so we just put dash. So Tome-GG white paper. And this is the white paper. So we'll just pass through it, and I'm just going to review my own work, I'm going to review my own work and just look at maybe Facebook in case someone might be throwing questions when they might be interested. Pass through it, and I'm just gonna review my own work. Alrighty. Yeah. So Tome.gg white paper. This white paper introduces Tome.gg, a platform for hyper-personalized education. The platform incorporates concepts from a variety of sources, the modern nature of online communication. So when I say the modern nature of online communication, what I want to really highlight here is the fact that in professional settings, in industry, having synchronous calls isn't really efficient, because you're gonna block everybody that's gonna be on that call, right? Because everybody's gonna be like, do I really need to be in this call? Which aspects of this call do I really need to be contributing or participating in? And people should just be dropping in and out when they need to. And that's an evolution in communication, in online communication, that people have to very polish, right? Like polish really, really well, so that you don't waste time. And if we're going to be reducing a lot of the synchronous calls that you would be having, that means that we need to be maximizing the asynchronous communication that we have. So when we say async, we mean chat messages, email, writing on your tickets, writing on your code, your merge request and your pull request, giving comments on your Google Docs or your Google Sheets. It's being able to asynchronously communicate there. And there's this model that I just recently shared with my friend Christian from Web3PH. I shared that I think like the standard for really good asynchronous communication has 3 parts. One is acknowledgement of the communication that was sent over. So, for example, your colleague basically sent you a slide deck that you need to review, right? There's 3 aspects that you need to do to be very effective in asynchronous communication. One is acknowledgement, 2, commitment, and 3, it's follow-up. So the aspect there would be, number 1, you acknowledge that you received the slide deck that your friend gave you, right? Your colleague gave you. Hey, I got this message, right? Sometimes some people just end there, and that's not good. We can do more than that, right? Because the other person's gonna be like, okay, you got the message, but then what happens next, right? Or are you gonna, what's gonna happen next, right? Like, that's the question. From a business standpoint, from a CTO, CEO perspective, it's like, okay, you sent the message, but then commitments, where are we at? Like, how what's the estimates for things moving on, right? So yeah. So after you make that kind of acknowledgement, you provide a commitment. So you say, hey, I got your slide deck. Thanks for doing this. I'll get back to you on, I'll get back to you. No, thanks. I got the slide deck. I'm going to read it today. I have an hour today to actually study it, right? So that would basically mean that the person knows when you're going to do it. So they also have an idea of when they can also check in with you, right? So your colleague will be like, okay, you're going to read it today, so I'll check in maybe tomorrow morning, right? Like, that's something that they can do. But then that's not the last thing that you can do. You can even go further, which is basically make a clear follow-up commitment. So it's the second commitment. The first one is like, when am I going to read what you've written? And then the next one is, when will I get back to you? Right? So it's follow-ups. So it's going to look like this. Hi, thanks for writing the slide deck. I'm going to review it today. I'll get back to you tomorrow. Right? It's complete. It's perfect. Like, from a management standpoint, people are on top of everything, right? That peer-to-peer communication, it's clear, right? From the person who gave it to you, they know when you're going to work on it, so they can also check in with you later this evening, right? Hey, were you able to like check in with it? Is there anything I can help you with? Whatever, right? And they also know when you're going to get back to them. So they literally have, I don't think they would have any more questions at that point. So that's how we can actually really develop that kind of asynchronous communication. And I think that modern nature of online communication is an aspect that is very basic. It's very simple, but it's not rigorously practiced. But when we do that, that's really how you can maximize a lot of the impact that that you can have with remote work and online communication and minimizing meetings and just being in your boxers when you're, cooking up your eggs and just, making space for yourself and still being effective in communication. So yeah, moving on. Experiences in the tech industry, software engineering, tech and startups. Yeah, generally in Tome, we're going to be talking about these things because we're catering to software engineers. Psychology, education, and learning. So I think these are important aspects to talk about, especially when you are dealing with a variety of different people, right? People coming from different backgrounds, different mindsets, right? Even when you think about it from a global perspective, Western thinking is different from Eastern thinking, Western communication is different from Eastern communication, but the mastery of that communication and learning, right, especially on how you understand yourself from how you learn, I think those are important things. Because if you're going to, like with Tom, we're trying to pursue hyper personalized education. Mentors and apprentices have to be educated on those kinds of things, right? Your communication preferences, your learning preferences, your teaching preferences, right? Finally, the last aspect, which ultimately is the thing that I geek out about the most, I really love games. I really love competitive gaming. I really enjoy playing Dota 2. That's it. That's I'm building a startup because I love Dota 2. Okay, that's not entirely true. Like I'm building a startup because I really like caring for people and not seeing them in horrible situations. But ultimately, I want people to enjoy playing games. And I hate the idea of hustle culture where people have to work so hard. They're in there. So this is a concept that I want to share, right? So if you go to tome.gg, we have a library. So you can go to resources, and under resources, there's library. And there's this specific problem that I want to share with you guys. It's called all work and no play. And I'm definitely sure this is going to call out so many different people. So in all work and no play, this is basically you are supposed to be sleeping, but you can't sleep because you're dreading work. And you're scrolling on your phone, you're on TikTok, and you can't sleep, right? And while you're at work, you're struggling to pay attention and focus and be excellent at work because you're like, I don't want to work, I want to play. But after work, you can't play because you're like, I can't play, I'm so stressed out about work. And why do we have that kind of life experience? Why do we have that kind of life, right? It's horrible.